There's one more feature of NuGet that I wanted to talk about, and it has to do with working in a team environment. So when you're working with a number of other developers on the same team, you're sharing source code, you're usually checking into a centralized repository. It goes by many names, but typically it'll be called source control. Okay. And it will keep versions of your source code so that you can say, oh, I made a mistake. Let me roll back and see the changes that I made 2 versions ago. There's a lot of other features. We're going to devote several entire courses to those topics. However, for now, just accept the fact that there are some tools that you can use, both commercial and open source, that allow multiple developers to check code in, check code out, so I can see your changes, you can see my changes, and so on. So if you have an application that requires external packages that you download from NuGet, there's a dilemma. Do I check those into source control? I didn't write those, but I have a dependency on them. Well, in the past, developers would check them in. The problem is that many source control systems work in such a way as they keep versions of the code, and if you're also storing all of the binaries, those assemblies that that you're using from NuGet, it will make the size of those code repositories massive eventually. So typically the best practice is to exclude those. However, each developer would then get a local copy of those from NuGet. So I can get my own local copy of the packages that the shared code relies on, but I don't check those back into source control. Some of this will become obvious a little bit later when we work with source control systems like Git or VisualStudio.com, Mercurial, things of that nature. So how do we work with NuGet, excluding packages and then restoring them so that I can share my code with you? I don't distribute all the packages to you, but you can somehow get all those packages on your local machine. That's what we're going to talk about here. There's a great web page here that kind of explains this no commit workflow. Take a look at the URL on screen right now, and it basically walks you through the steps that we'll talk about in this lesson. We'll go one step further than this, though. It kind of stops short at the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. I have 2 projects right now. The first is that Understanding NuGet project from the previous lesson. And so to kind of illustrate this idea, I also created, however, another project called NuGet No Commit Workflow. So it's a simple Windows form application. In fact, I haven't done anything to it yet. I basically created it, and then I added the Elma package to it, like we learned about in a previous lesson. And so that's all I had. Now, if we open up Windows Explorer and take a look in that NuGet No Commit Workflow project, you can see we have a packages folder there. And what we're going to do is delete that package, and then we're going to act like we distributed it to somebody else and try to open it up there. So what we need to do to make this all work, first of all, there's a couple different ways to go about it. If we want the NuGet packages to be downloaded at the time of compilation, then we'll need to add a setting. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. First of all, we're going to start by going to Tools, Options, and then we're going to go to the NuGet Package Manager entry on the left and select General. And here you can see that you want to make sure that these are checked. Allow NuGet to download missing packages, and then automatically check for missing packages during build in Visual Studio. So that's key. Whenever a build happens, we want to see, do we have all the packages we need? If not, go out and grab those packages and then perform the build. So that's the first step. The second step then is to go to the project itself, actually to the solution itself. Right-click it and select Enable NuGet Package Restore at the solution level. And when you do that, it's going to pop open a little message and say, are you sure you want to configure the solution, download and restore missing NuGet packages during the build step? A .NuGet folder will be added to the root of the solution that contains the files that enable package restore. And then it also says that packages installed to website projects will not be restored during build. So we'll look at that scenario too. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, let's do it. Alright, and so then we get a message, NuGet Package Manager, finish configuring the solution to restore NuGet packages on the build, and now you should see a folder called .NuGet with a .config file that basically just says disable source control integration equals true. That's the key part of this whole equation here. Okay, so now let's go into our into Windows Explorer, and what I'm going to do is delete the packages folder like so. And so now it's been removed from the project, and I'm going to go ahead and close down the project and then open it one more time. And what I'll do is right click and say build solution, and notice when I built it runs this restoring NuGet packages step, and it's grabbing down and installing the Elma and Elma dependency on this core library 1.2.2, and it successfully installed both, and then it succeeded in building the application. Okay, so that's essentially the first scenario where we are working with something that's not a web application. Let's go ahead and close that one down. In fact, I'm going to go and distribute this to you, and I'm going to delete the packages folder as I distribute it to you. Okay, so just be aware of that. You'll need to perform this step if you want to follow along. Now, running in a web project is a little bit different. You can see that I've already gone through the step of creating that .NuGet folder, and so now let's take a look at the Solution Explorer for that project. So the NuGet example folder, and I'm going to go ahead and delete the packages from that folder as well, and I'll shut down Visual Studio, and then I'll double click the NuGet example.sln file to open it back up. And this time I'm going to right click and say build solution, and we don't see that it downloaded any of the packages. Let's take a look at the folder, and nothing's been added here. Now, why aren't we getting that same behavior? Well, because this is a web application. What we need to do instead in this particular scenario is to go to Tools and NuGet Package Manager, go to the Manage NuGet Packages for Solution. You'll see that there's a little yellow message at the very top. Some NuGet packages are missing from the solution. Click Restore from your online package sources. I'll click Restore. And now we should get the Elma, the Bootstrap, the jQuery, everything that we saw before. It's reinstalled. If we take a look in our directory, the packages has returned just as before. So again, when I distribute this to you, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to delete the packages back out, and you can try this and assume that this is code that we're sharing together, but I didn't give you the packages folder. You can just use the NuGet dialog, package manager dialog to grab them back down. Okay, so that's really all I want to talk about with NuGet. Again, there are some advanced features of NuGet, like creating your own feed and things of that nature, creating your own packages. We're not going to cover them in these courses. That's not a beginner topic. That's not something you need to get your first job. Okay, so anyway, let's move on. See you in the next lesson. Thank you.